Hey guys, I'm Brad. I'm a physician assistant working in hospital medicine. And today I want to walk you through what actually happens from the moment you walk into the ER, why this process takes so long, and why, no, it's not because they forgot about you. The wait times of the emergency room are one of the biggest complaints in medicine. You hear stories all the time about people who spend 7-8 hours in the emergency room. And in those moments where you're sick or you're injured or you're in pain, waiting is the last thing you want to do. So let's start where most people's frustration begins, the waiting room. So when you first arrive in the emergency room, the first person you'll see is the triage nurse. This is somebody whose sole job is to take your personal information and in like a few words tell us why you're here. And it's here where one of the most important things to understand is patients aren't seen in the order that they arrive. They're seen in the order of how sick they are. So if you're there for something uncomfortable but not life-threatening, something like a knee injury, a wrist injury, or some kind of minor illness, you're going to be lower priority than someone who is there for like chest pain or abdominal pain or stroke-like symptoms. It doesn't mean that your issue isn't real or important. It just means that the ER is designed to treat life-threatening conditions first. And so it's here now where you wait for a bed to become available. And there are other things that can affect this wait time also. Things like limited number of beds, delay in specialty consults, and of course, staffing shortages. And sometimes the main hospital is so full to capacity that people who are being admitted from the ER have to remain in the ER until a bed becomes available to them, which even further slows this whole process down. But once a bed does become available, the waiting doesn't really stop there. Now you have to wait on the emergency room provider to come see you. This will be either a doctor or a physician assistant like me. In many emergency rooms, like the one in my hospital, there's only like 2 providers for 30 plus patients. So it may take some time for that provider to even come see you. So even though you're already in the room, the other providers may be busy, seeing other people or doing some kind of minor procedure, or maybe there's somebody who is a lot sicker than you are that they have to attend to first. And all of this just takes time. Now, to help speed up this process, sometimes the ER provider will look to see what your chief complaint is. So the reason why you're in the ER tonight. And they will probably go ahead and order images and labs that pertain to your main complaint. So for example, if your complaint was shortness of breath, he may see that on the chart, and before he even lays eyes on you, he goes ahead and orders labs and a chest x-ray. So that way, by the time that he comes to see you, he already has some information to work off of, because there are 100 different reasons why you could be short of breath. And this at least gives them a starting point. And so after waiting a while, the ER provider finally comes to see you. And it's here where they will get a very detailed history of why you're here, and they'll do their physical exam. And then based on the information they obtained from you, whether it be through getting the history or in the exam itself, they'll most likely order more labs and more imaging. For example, in the shortness of breath case that I mentioned earlier, sometimes a plain old chest x-ray just isn't good enough. So let's say that you are severely short of breath and there's nothing on the initial x-ray. The doctor may then order a CT scan of the chest, which is a much better picture of the inside of your chest. It just takes longer. It takes longer to perform it, and it takes much longer to interpret those results. And this is another reason why the ER takes so long, waiting for results of labs and imaging. The turnaround time for labs and imaging really depends on how busy the lab is and how backed up the radiology team is. Because it's not just everybody in the ER trying to get labs and imaging, it's the entire hospital. So not only does it take time for somebody to get free to be able to come and draw your blood or take you down for a CT scan or do the x-ray, it then takes even more time to wait for somebody to interpret those results. And while we're waiting for those results, the ER providers aren't just sitting around. They move on to go see other patients. So even though your results are back, the ER doctor may now be occupied seeing somebody else. Or sometimes they're pulled to another room to help manage a very sick patient, which again takes a significant amount of time. So even though your results are back, you're still waiting. Not because they forgot about you, but because there may be somebody who is more acutely ill at that moment. But finally, once the ER doctor has looked at all of the results of the labs and the images that they've got for you, they'll come back to see you, and one of two things will happen. A, your condition is stable and whatever you're there for can be managed at home, they'll discharge you home. Or B, if your condition is a little more serious and it requires, overnight observation or IV antibiotics or something like that, you'll then be admitted to the hospital. And this is where my role comes in. As an internal medicine PA, it's my responsibility to admit people from the ER to the hospital and manage their conditions while they're in the hospital. And so I'll get the message from the ER provider requesting admission for that particular patient. And sometimes they'll call me with multiple patients at once. And for each of those patients, I have to review what the ER has done, review the labs, the images, their past medical history, and then go see them myself. And that whole process takes more time also. So even after the decision is made to admit you to the hospital, there's still more waiting involved. I want to be really clear about something. Waiting is frustrating. Being sick, scared, and in pain makes it even worse. And that frustration is completely valid. But the emergency room isn't slow because nobody cares. It's slow because they're constantly prioritizing who needs help the fastest. The emergency room isn't designed for speed and convenience. It's designed to save lives. I hope this video gives a better idea about what goes on behind the scenes when you unfortunately have to go to the emergency room for something. If you have any questions about the hospital experience or any medical questions, leave them in the comments down below. But guys, that's all for today. Stay safe, stay healthy, peace.